Welcome to the Lair of Secrets podcast. I'm Ken Newquist, and I'm running a lot.
And I am David Moore, and I have been continuing to make dinners in ShadowDark.
Tonight we're talking about tabletop gamer-friendly streaming service Moonbeam.stream. And so I guess we should probably start by talking about what the heck is Moonbeam. It is not a cryptocurrency. Okay, well, it is a cryptocurrency, but that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about that Moonbeam. We're talking about this new streaming platform currently in beta that's meant to have better moderation capabilities and a more creator-friendly pay structure than Twitch. I think that was the original pitch. Does that sound about right?
Yes. Yeah, it's a bit more favorable pay structure than Twitch and other streaming services like YouTube. Whenever you subscribe or get tipped, you're effectively getting 100% of, they call them moonstones instead of bits like Twitch has, but you get 100% of the moonstone cost. So they do that because they take their cut out of the moonstones when they're purchased. And so you get whatever the value is of the moonstone when you turn it in. So I don't remember what the value is at the moment right now.
Gotcha. So what are we doing with Moonbeam? So I think we came in and they did a crowdfunding thing, right?
They did a crowdfunding thing on BackerKit in conjunction with several other game companies, one of which is, my personal favorite of Evil Hat. And so that kind of lured me in, and I backed at the level that got us this realm. And when I say this realm, we're also, while we're recording this, also streaming on Moonbeam.stream. So anyone who's catching it right now might be a little confused that we're talking about it in the past sense, but we're actually,
When will now be now? It's now.
Yes. Now is then.
Now is then. Now is now. Yeah, we can do Spaceballs references all night. But so the question, I guess, is what we're doing with Moonbeam. So when we first started out, we actually had done some amount of live streaming out to like Twitch and experimented with some stuff. I think the Scum and Villainy campaign had some live streams out to Twitch, if I remember correctly.
I believe so. Yep.
But then we had this epiphany that if we record all the episodes first, then we don't have to like pressure ourselves, especially for the actual play stuff. Like we can release a coherent season as we're doing with Fallout, because we realized we would record 3 episodes and then it would take us forever to record the 4th. And then we just kind of like have 2 months of dead air effectively for that campaign. So by recording them all in advance, we don't have that problem. But that means we also kind of got away from the whole streaming thing. So with Moonbeam, I guess we're kind of circling back to where we've been and trying out something different. So what do you think we're going to stream?
Yeah, we've done a little bit of streaming already when it was in alpha and closed beta. Now it's in open beta. In fact, if you check out the description, you'll be able to see a link for an invite to that if you want to join our realm. And so what we've done so far is we've done some game prep streams, working on campaign notes. Ken's been working on maps. I've been exploring Foundry VTT as part of the games that I'm running lately that are remote, and just some random experiments. So we might be doing video games. Ken is thinking about, you have to explain what a switch bridge is to me, because I don't know what that is.
Well, so it's like, so if you want to stream from your Switch, you need to get a bridge device of some sort. So there are a variety of these. As you might imagine, you can spend as much money as you want. It seems like the reasonable ones are like about $100 or whatever. I play mostly on my Switch. I mean, I have a PS5, but I've been playing the heck out of Red Dead Redemption on that. I suppose people would find it very amusing for me to watch me play Red Dead. Definitely would not be family friendly. And I didn't mean to kill all those people. Really, it was just an accident. It was really, truthfully, an accident.
Ken committing more crimes.
Yeah, you commit a crime, and then you accidentally commit another crime while you're trying to escape from your previous crime. So it would probably be fascinating. And yet, the games that I play most consistently is probably on my Switch. So a Switch bridge would allow you to basically import it into OBS. So the experiments I've been doing is, because I've never done anything with OBS, I really haven't done much with OBS. I know you've done a lot with it. So most of my experiments on Moonbeam for the last week or so have been looking at different setups so that I can like capture video from my iPad in particular.
Yep.
And being able, so like I draw my dungeons for ShadowDark using Procreate. So being able to do that and figure out how to capture the video and how to get the streaming screen size correct. And then this weekend was me having several failed attempts at figuring out how to make Mothership maps. Because the first Mothership map I made was I just threw it together in Roll20 based on a sketch that I had in my notebook, and that was fine, but I'm trying to come up with something that's better as a handout for the game. I think I started with Procreate. It's really hard to draw shapes in Procreate, and then I went over to Freeform, which is a kind of graphing / like design program for the Mac, and it's got an infinite canvas, so that's not great for when you want to print things. And so I ended up at Incarnate, which is actually, I think, working out pretty well. So you may see a couple more Incarnate videos this week as I continue to try and get my Mothership campaign done scenario done before Mepicon in 2 weeks.
Yep. We're playtesting that next week. So we'll see how that goes.
Maybe we'll stream that. Who knows? So yeah, I mean, I have some games and stuff that I play on the iPad that, I don't know. I want to experiment with streaming different things.
Gotcha. Yeah, we're thinking about doing actual plays again, but I think we'll probably limit them to like a one-shot sort of thing, so we don't end up with, hey, here's episode 1. 6 months later, here's episode 2, because our schedules didn't coordinate anymore.
Yes, and it also takes some of the pressure off of editing, right? Yep. Like if we do a Mothership one-shot or like a Dragonbane one-shot or whatever, then we have a coherent thing that we can edit up, release, and then maybe do a supplemental episode for or something. But yeah, I like the idea of streaming one-shots.
Yeah. We also have the it's streamed here on Moonbeam a couple of times. We have the die improvement environment or the DIE, which is helping to rehabilitate those recalcitrant dice. Those dice that roll unfortunately in the game. I'm not saying roll low or roll high, because if you're playing any 2d20 games, you definitely want your d20s to roll low. But if they're rolling high, anything that goes out of that.
The Cup of Shame is ready to provide as many dice as possible. I've thought about as future enhancements to the die environment, because it doesn't have to just be the water thing. Have it like a treadmill type thing where it just continues to roll around.
Continues to roll. Nice.
If we have to work out, if I have to work out, the dice should work out.
Yes. I think we, if this first iteration of the die works out, then we'll have other improvement environments that we will continue to add.
I kind of think of it. It reminds me of a Portal, but the Portal 2, just like that whole experimentation thing where you're trying to make your way through. Like the die has to figure out how to survive in order to return to the table.
Yep. We ourselves have been watching some stuff on Moonbeam. It's still fairly small, but it's a fairly close-knit group of people. There's some co-working streams, which have been interesting. There's been some folks playing video games, and there are a few different role-playing, live, actual play sessions as well. Some of those appear to be pre-recorded, and then I think that there are people who are part of the cast maybe chatting while the pre-recording stuff is going on, and I was thinking we might be able to do that for any of the stuff that we have already recorded, or if we bring back Scum and Villainy and
that'd be cool, like director's
send
cut,
it
right?
out. Yeah, like a director's cut or
director's commentary.
Behind the scenes director's notes.
Yeah,
pop-up
video.
We could definitely do that with, hey, here's how David messed up this time,
or this is how this was awesome. So I think we're ultimately just figuring it out. I mean, other stuff. I was kind of fascinated by the co-working streams. This is something that shows up on YouTube as well. And it's, I wish I had consistent blocks of time where I could sit down and just do that. Mm-hmm. Mostly it's just me watching these lo-fi streams, which are basically the animated version of a co-working thing where it's just you see an animated character working, so you feel motivated to work. It's an interesting idea, and maybe if my work schedule calms down a little bit, I could actually take advantage of it. But I thought it was interesting to see what people were doing with that, and I think people were having fun with it too. So that was pretty cool. I think stuff we need to figure out a recording schedule. People seem to have those.
Yeah.
Where
that would
ours is perhaps
good.
More chaos generated.
Yeah.
So I think personally, once I get past my game prep for Mepicon, I'll be able to take a breather and then come back and maybe get into a more consistent schedule, right? So usually I would do game prep on Sunday morning for my D&D campaign. I have a lot of campaigns going right now, actually, because I've got Cyberpunk, I've got ShadowDark, and I've got D&D. So figuring out a routine for those would be good. Posting, like we posted tonight, we're not really sure what some of this stuff does.
It's still beta, so some of this is, we were trying to figure out, we posted and it's supposed to show up on the main page and it hadn't yet. Let me go check and see. Nope, still hasn't. So I don't know how that's supposed to work. So we'll see.
Playing around with this, yeah. So playing around with discoverability, right? So I went in, and I did a search on, it gives you suggestions like tabletop RPGs or whatever. So I type in Mothership because I'm super interested in Mothership, and we come up first, cool. But then we also get Blackwater D&D and Lord Stomper RPG Realm. I don't know that they do anything with Mothership. So it's unclear to me how the search is working, or if there's just not enough there yet. So it returns one result and then it just adds all the other stuff on at the end because we're the only one actually talking about Mothership. So I think figuring out how this all works as it kind of evolves over time and grows will also be interesting. And figuring out how realms work. So we've got the Lair of Secrets realm, but how does it interact with other realms? Because realms are where you stream stuff, right? And so how do you stream to the tabletop RPG realm in order to attract other people who might want to watch our stuff and then they come to our realm? Or how does this whole environment actually work? Because it's pleasantly not YouTube.
Yeah, and it's kind of, the realm, as far as I can tell, is more like kind of like a podcast network, where there's a selection of similar podcasts or podcasts with the same people on it or friends,
right, like streams,
etc.
right?
Streams. And so, we'd like to get people in there for Lair of Secrets that are of like-minded people to us and more gaming, but they also have they have other realms, and the idea is in terms of the monetization stuff, you can actually see what the split is throughout the realm. We haven't really done anything with that yet because it was still in alpha and beta, so there's not a whole lot of that stuff going around right now, but everything that we've seen so far has been pretty cool in terms of the different ideas that they have to take streaming as we've always known it, or as it's grown, and make improvements in the areas that they see are deficient. And I think it's doing pretty well so far.
Yeah, and the content moderation is also interesting. Like every time you post something, it talks about the tone of what you posted, and then it's got some back end stuff to deal with the egregious hate mongering, perhaps. Hey, Group Proof just wandered out of the wilderness. He was not eaten by a group.
Nice.
So yeah, that was thanks, Group Proof.
And Mr. Rivera is here, who's one of the founders of Moonbeam, and so he was thanking us for chatting about Moonbeam. So you're welcome. So, and for those of you who are just joining us, we're doing this live. This is how the podcast is made, how our normal video cast is made, and so we're streaming it out, and then we're going to edit it, and then it'll go up on YouTube and stuff like that. But you're going to see how the podcast is made, not the sausage. We're not in the kitchen.
This is the raw cut with all the ums and ahs and us talking over one another.
Exactly. A lot of which still ends up getting into the podcast, but there are more here, so you get the extras.
Yes, you get the bonus ums and ahs and likes and rights, because those are my two things: are like and right.
Like and right. Yeah, mine is so and
Yes,
there's a lot of those.
It's great. We've been spending a lot of time editing.
Yes. With the editing software, there was another one. The editing software that we use now, it allows us to do text-based editing, and it recognizes filler words, and that is very useful.
Yes, it is. So it does think that Lair of Secrets is Layer of Secrets whenever I say it.
Layer?
Yes.
Yes.
Every time.
Yep. But earlier you were talking about how you have been running a lot.
Yes.
So
yes, I'm up to 4 miles. So I'm going, I think we talked about this a while back, but I'm going back to Philmont. If those longtime listeners to the podcast know that I went on this 12-day backpacking trip to the mountains of New Mexico in 2021 with my son. Well, it's 4 years later and we're going back. My son is now a freshman in college, and he will have completed his first year when we go later this summer. But one does, just like Mordor, one does not simply walk into Philmont. It starts at 6,400 feet, so we're actually going to get there a couple days early to adjust to the altitude, and then it's sort of up and down. I'll have to post the map at some point, the altitude changes map. It's not as bad as some of the other treks could be. This one is a little bit kinder and gentler. Last time, I think our total trek was 70 something miles. This time around, it's going to be 53 miles because the adults are a little
Those are still big.
Yeah.
That's still long.
And that's not the real mileage, right? Because you get lost. So this is not like hiking on the AT where you're on a ridge line. There's lots of white blazes that tell you where you're going. And if you wander too far in one direction, you're probably going down a hill and you end up, in New Jersey or Pennsylvania or something, and you hit a state highway. You're in the middle of freaking nowhere. And if you don't show up at the next camp, they will come looking for you. But you have to be
Which is good.
Which is good. And they do send you out with a ranger the first 2 days to make sure you're not going to hurt yourself and that you know how to do the thing. And then once they verify that you are safe to be in the woods, they will send you back. And the highlands of New Mexico is not, it's a desert. It's a high altitude desert, but it actually rains every afternoon in late June and July because it's monsoon season, because there's this rain coming in from California, I guess. So it's wetter than I expected, but it dries real quick because in Pennsylvania in June and July, we have massive humidity. This is not that. So it's going to be fun, but I have to work out a lot. So I am currently working with a personal trainer to get that core strength back up and to lose the belly.
Yeah.
And I got to run a lot. I was, I enjoy running, and I had a couple of stupid injuries over the last couple of years that kind of kept impeding me, but now I am healthy. So I'm trying to walk the fine line, or run the fine line between getting into good shape, but not hurting myself again.
Yeah. You had mentioned the ups and downs, and it's not all flat. And it reminded me of one of our previous episodes about putting together a town or a village. And it's one of those things that most of the time when we're mapping, a lot of times it's flat, or maybe a little bit of elevation change, but not, what did you say? It was 6,500 feet of elevation change?
Yeah. It's so we start at 6,500 feet. We end Mount Baldy is at 1,100 feet or something like that. But it's
another 5,000-ish feet of elevation change.
Yeah, and then there's lots of ups and downs too. So it's pretty good. And there's some days where you'll hike 5 miles and you'll have an elevation change of 1,500 feet or 2,000 feet, and that can be hard on you if you're not ready for it. And being in Pennsylvania, where I live, I'm 235 feet above sea level. Right? There's not really any place in the east, even if you go up to New York and the Catskills and the what have you, Adirondacks, you're not going to get high enough, right? Even Mount Washington's, I think 5,000 feet or something like that up in New Hampshire. So we just don't have the mountains that they have in the West. So the best we can do is be in the best fracking cardiovascular shape of your life. So it's lots of running, lots of swimming, and lots of rowing and biking. It's just about warm enough that I can get my bike out.
Unless you can reverse time and just be in the shape you were in high school and college, in which case you can probably just go.
No, I was in horrible shape in high school and college. I was a nerd who didn't work out. I mean, I did bike a lot and I tried to run, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I would say that I was in the best shape of my life the last time I went to Philmont.
Nice. Very nice.
Which it's been nice as you get older. If you didn't exercise as a youth or in your 20s and 30s, and then you start exercising in your 40s and 50s, then you continually feel stronger than you had when you were younger, right? As opposed to if I was a jock, I'd be like, oh man, I wish I could just have my glory days of when I played football or ran track in high school, right? Yeah, I don't have that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm reminded of, I've only done one really big trek like that, which is back in my senior year of high school. I lived overseas in Malaysia, and we had a spring break trip to Nepal where we did a week of hiking in the foothills of the Himalayas, the Halambu region. And it was awesome. It was great. It was a trip of a lifetime. I will tell you, the first 2 days, it was all uphill because that's the way we were going. And we were out of breath the entire first 24, almost all 48 hours. And it was pretty intense. And that's the thing is like, Ken, with you, you're carrying all your stuff.
Oh yes. Yes, this is full gear.
Yeah, you guys had full gear, tents, everything, food, water, everything. We just had whatever we wanted in our day pack, and we had Sherpas that were carrying all of the tents, all of the, like, most of our clothes, all the food, the entire kitchen that they set up every night. You know, it was a big expedition, you know, out there, and it was great, but like we were not as going through as grueling of a time as you guys are. And so yeah, it was fun, but I remember how tired I was and how out of breath I was the first couple of days. The last few days were a lot of fun because that was all downhill.
Right.
And it is amazing how fast you move when you just let yourself, when you're in high school, don't really, like, you can fall and you would be hurt, but it's not like our age now where, hey, if we roll an ankle, we're going to be able to walk for, you know, a couple months while it heals.
I leaned forward today. I was plugging in a USB cord on my computer at work, and all of a sudden my knee was like, what are you doing? Like, come on, I can't hurt my knee plugging in a USB cable. That's just ridiculous. So
but you can.
Yeah, so we have one day, our biggest day. So there's this thing called Baldy Mountain, and it doesn't, like, it's called Baldy because there's no forest or anything on top of it. It's at 12,441 feet. And so we'll camp near Baldy, and then we will have a day hike where we go up and we come back down. It's an 11.5 mile day. We will gain 3,600 feet in elevation, and then we will lose 3,500 feet of elevation. So we basically go up, then come back down again. We didn't get to do it last time. My son and I didn't get to do it last time, but we're going to do it this time, and hopefully. But it's cool because, again, going back to like our planning and talking about your campaign and stuff, right? Baldy's one of those things. It's kind of like the volcano in oh my God, Ocarina of Time, or any of the Legend of Zelda games, where you can see it in the distance, and then you just keep getting closer, and it keeps getting bigger. And that's what Baldy's like. You hike between these different ridge lines, you come out, and then all of a sudden the mountain is twice as big as the last time you saw it. So it's going to be nice. It's going to be pretty cool. And we get to go to Miranda, which is a historical reenactment camp. That's our last thing before we leave. So it's going to be cool. There's going to be a ropes course. You know, it's going to be fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
I have to work out a lot.
Yeah. Yep. I should talk with you about how you find a good personal trainer.
I got one through the college I work at. So work for a college, go to rec services, ask for a trainer.
Gotcha. I unfortunately don't have that option, but I'll have to make do myself.
I will say word of mouth is the other way that I've done it. Like just talking with friends, you know. I've been lucky that I've hurt myself enough that I've met people who have also hurt themselves, and then you start talking about, you know, I strained my oblique, which is like the muscle that goes along your rib cage, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's the dumbest muscle that you can injure.
Were you like reaching out and behind and
No, I was doing these things called Spider-Man push-ups, where you're like in the Spider-Man like crawly, like, you know, like imagine you're climbing a wall as Spider-Man.
Okay.
And then you like kind of lift up an arm and leg and move them back. And like you're crawling up a wall, and then you do a push up while you're doing it.
Oh, geez.
So I was in pretty good shape when I was doing it.
Until you had a problem with your oblique, I guess.
Yes. So I recommend talking to local friends, you know, whatever, if you can. It's probably the easiest way to do the social, because you want to find somebody who meets your personality, right? I think as me personally, as a nerd who did not, who, got picked on and all that kind of stuff in high school, like if you went into the weight room or whatever, it can be difficult to find people who, like, I don't like working out with people who have sort of like the jock mentality. I like people who are willing to explain things to me multiple times and are patient. So finding a person who works for you, if you like the jock type, it's not a knock on a jock type, but you got to work with somebody who fits your personality.
And honestly, I think now is much different than when we were in high school in terms of
yes,
going out and going to a gym and not feeling as awkward because everybody there actually is pretty friendly and open. There's not as much of the toxicity as I remember from those days. So
that has been my experience overall. I mean, I'm mostly working out at the college gym, so it's mostly college students, but they're all or faculty or staff or what have you. So anyway, I think talking to your friends, networking, finding people who can recommend something is good. But you have been cooking meals in a dungeon.
Yes, we've been continuing to play our delicious and dungeon inspired ShadowDark game. They've roasted a adolescent ankeg and eaten that and made some rations out of it. There's actually a third-party dungeon chef class for ShadowDark that I found, and one of the players is playing. My youngest daughter is playing, and they've been having a really good time with it. We talked about it a little bit on one of our other episodes. They're about to get to second level, which they're really looking forward to when we play next time, because our rogue has 1 hit point and our mage has 2 hit points, and I believe our dungeon chef might have 3 or 4. And if you add all of those up, it is still less than the fighter with 9 hit points. So, our fighter is good and has actually put himself between danger and the rest of the party multiple times and saved their bacon. We had one person go down and unconscious, but they were tended to and lived. But yeah, it's a dangerous thing. So right now they're underneath a tavern, theoretically to fix the piping to the taps that's coming from a warehouse across the street, but they found out that underneath the tavern is a very large series of catacombs, passages, all sorts of stuff, old piping mixed with this new piping. So yeah, it's been a fun time. So when they last left off, there was sounds of a party beyond the next door. So they may, in fact, I'll tell you because none of the other people are here. They have found the party that has tapped the lines, and there's been a bender going on for the last few days.
Nice.
And the person that had been sent down to find the party is now a part of the party. So, and but of course, yeah, that the Goblin Dit is they're gonna meet Dit next session, and he has what he thinks is what he will insist is a treasure map that he sold his cow for, a la Jack and the Beanstalk, but he is also quite inebriated right now, and so he's going to ask the party to help and also not tattle on him to the tavern owner who he went down to fix things a few days back. So.
Very nice. Yeah. Very nice.
It's been fun.
My ShadowDark lunchtime game, Morka Norden, it takes place in like a analogous Scandinavia. The players leveled up today, and the fighter, I let them level up mid-game. I don't remember what the actual rule is, but the fighter rolled a d8 and got an 8.
Nice.
And he had like 7 to begin with, so I think he might be at like 15 hit points. And the wizard was at 2, and I think he got a 3. So he's at 5 hit points. So our party might be somewhat stronger than yours. Because we also have 2 clerics.
Yes.
And they've got like 8 or 9 hit points.
They have 0 clerics. They have no clerics in my party. That's the fun part. I think they got, I had given them, I think, 1 healing potion, but I think they forgot they have it. But I'm going to make a prediction is that fighter is going to get overconfident and he's going to be one of the first people to die.
It could be. They've actually been remarkably. They've spent most of their time not fighting. So they got in the second dungeon. They encountered a number of rats who kind of attacked them defensively, and they learned just how dangerous rats can be because disease instantly affects you and like knocks down your con. And then the rats kept fleeing before them, and then they retreated to the lowest level of the dungeon, and they found a dire rat, which. They chose not to fight. They chose to attempt to intimidate instead. And that kind of worked because the rat was going to the dire rat was going to retreat into the deeper catacombs where the rat hive is. And then there were also some deep goblins, which are what I'm calling like the the goblins that never ventured forth onto the surface and retained all of their night vision and what have you. They were also down there, like they had come into the dungeon looking to loot. Originally, there were bandits in the dungeon. Bandits all got killed by the rats. Goblins show up thinking that they can like attack the bandits and get treasure. Then they realize they're way in over their heads. So it's been pretty cool. They fought a skeleton that had reanimated when they stole its dagger, I think, and then they managed to like turn it, and then it fell into this pool of water where it had been located previously, and then they weighed it down with a bunch of gear. So it's still trapped.
It was
there.
Still animated, but it's just stuck.
Right, so the dagger itself is not actually cursed, but it is bound to the skeleton, which wants to retrieve it. So at some point, the skeleton, like sans one leg or something, is just going to come stumbling out of, like, I've set so many plot points just to, like, come back later.
You need to do it. Need is a strong word, but there are so many ideas that are popping into my head with that. It's like, the skeleton shows back up when they're camping, or the skeleton shows back up because it's tracked the dagger down, but they're in the middle of a dungeon and their torch just went out, or things like that.
Or they're drinking in a bar, the skeleton
just walks in.
Just envisioning I think having the skeleton be like this returning like Pirates of the Caribbean thing where it's always going to reform in some way, and they're just going to have to come up with more creative ways of causing it to not chase after them. But they befriended some wolves. They'll show up again at some point. They didn't fight the deep goblin, so maybe they'll show up. But in ShadowDark, this is all good because you don't actually get experience for killing monsters. You get experience for finding stuff. So they did that.
You said reformed, and now I have a whole idea of a Ship of Theseus skeleton where it's lost its leg, so it has some other leg, and then it loses another piece, and it puts something else in.
Right.
It eventually becomes the big bad of your campaign because it, like whatever huge monster that is dead, it just, incorporates it into itself.
Yes.
Just to get the dagger back.
Just to get the dagger back. Yeah, it's going to be this monstrous giant-sized skeleton with this teeny tiny little head that keeps like animating everything, right? But yeah, so it's been a lot of fun.
And I could totally see an ending to it of like it comes up and somehow the dagger gets thrown on the ground and it just picks up the dagger and just walks off.
Right, because that's all it really wants.
Yeah, it's all it wants. It's not like holding a grudge. It just needs the dagger back.
Right.
Also, speaking of ShadowDark, I am really interested in the ShadowDark Western March. I can't remember what the name of it is now. I have it as a tab. Western Reaches Kickstarter, which is really good. It's at $1.7 million right now. But I was thinking about actually getting the slipcase set because it gives me all 6 of the zines and the Western Reaches setting books, the GM and player setting books in it, and all of the PDFs for all of those. And that would be cool to get. I would also like to get the spell cards, the decks of spell cards as well, because I had a third party, somebody out there had put it on Drive-Thru RPG of the basic spells out of the main book as spell cards, and that when we were playing in person, those spell cards were really, really handy. I always kind of poo-pooed the D&D spell cards and stuff like that, but now that I have played or run ShadowDark and seen people actually use them, I am a convert to spell cards rather than like flipping through a book or printing out pages. It's just so much easier, especially when I only have one ShadowDark book for the entire group. So
yeah, I'm tempted. I'm glad that it crosses over into a new month, which means that for me it crosses over into a new family budget. Since I blew my budget on baseball this month with getting MLB TV, next month I may need to blow my budget on some level of the Western Reaches.
Yeah.
So
now I will say, I will say it. I am sure. I mean, it's not a. You don't have to have too much FOMO because it's like the Kickstarter and then it's gone. No, I'm sure that these will be products that the Arcane Library and Kelsey is going to be putting out later. But it's just really nice to.
No, it's beautiful.
It just seems cool.
it looks very cool. So yeah, definitely interested. And I didn't do any zine quests this year, so I need some, I don't have any Kickstarters going right now, so I might have to back this one so I have that present coming to myself in December of 2025, which is apparently when it's going to release.
Yeah, that one's going to be hard, but she did say that they would be releasing the PDFs as soon as they were complete. So you would get the digital copy, and then eventually physical copies would arrive.
And I will mention, because you pointed it out, that the Alien Kickstarter is also out. The Alien Evolved Edition Kickstarter, which I feel like I shouldn't buy the next edition until I've played the first edition, despite all of the Alien books on the shelf behind me. I mean, I have used them for Mothership. It's just that, you know, I haven't used them for Alien. But I'm tempted by that too. But
I'm going to say sorry, not sorry, for posting that Kickstarter in our Discord. Speaking of which, thanks for joining us tonight. Check out Moonbeam. It's pretty neat. See us over here, there, depending upon your point of view at the moment. And we're on YouTube as well. And let's see if I can actually make it work here. I should have been doing this earlier. We are on layerofsecrets.com. And if you are interested in joining our community, there's a link to our Discord over on layerofsecrets.com as well. So give us a like, subscribe, do all that stuff. And I hope you have a good day.